the NBA in our NBA preview. Today we got the Golden State Warriors, a team that's won 4 championships in the last 7 years. They have been the standard of what the NBA has been here in the later half of the decade. You know, it all was about LeBron and the Heat in the first half, and then it became about Curry, Thompson, and Draymond, and the others as well too, the Splash Brothers and the Goon, you know, and these guys have done their absolute best to keep the NBA as a top sport. You got to have teams that are marketable. And one thing I can say about the Warriors, even though I always have my hangups with them, they're a very marketable team. They got a lot of good things going on with their team, and they bring in Chris Paul this year. They let go of Jordan Poole. You know, he was part of that trade to bring in Chris Paul. They got Jonathan Kuminga there still as well. James Wiseman is gone as well now too. But, they still got Moody as well. So those 4 rookies that they had a few years back that they thought they were going to be able to build this team around, they only got 2 now. And pretty much they're really carbon copy of what the Lakers have done. The Lakers, they tried to do a youth movement, and the youth movement just didn't happen. LeBron came, and he wasn't having that, okay? And then, they tried to bring in all LeBron's buddies, all the guys that LeBron had played in the NBA with for the last 10, 15 years. That didn't work either. Now they're doing the same thing with Steph Curry. You're bringing in guys like Rudy Gay. You're bringing in Chris Paul. These to help try to get these guys their first championship, but to have more veteran presence on your team so people can keep it together during these games. That's the whole thing. They didn't have enough voices. Iguodala is a guy that can really show you more than he can tell you, and he hasn't been able to do that in the last 2 years. So they don't have that option right now with him. So you bring in Rudy Gay to kind of replace that. Then you bring in Chris Paul. So then you can go ahead and trade off injuries. Chris Paul missed 5, Curry missed 5. But you still got a consistent point guard at the top. That's the whole thing. And you're just looking at the health of your team. And that's why they're making these moves like that. Steve Kerr has to show us this year, is he truly a great coach? Because the way that he coaches in the Olympics kind of proved to everybody that he's an average coach who has great players, exceptional players. But Curry and Thompson and Draymond and the rest of the group, they still would have been able to win championships with Mark Jackson as their head coach. It just was that Steve Kerr was the right guy at the right time. And you know what? They needed to hear another voice because Mark Jackson was coaching them like a high school coach. You know what I mean? He was coaching them like your preacher daddy, and it just didn't work. And so pretty much now Steve Kerr gets all the credit. He gets all the accolades and everything like that for just being an average coach and just telling them simple things to help them win championships. And you can even argue that Mike Brown and Luke Walton might need more credit for the years that they actually coached up those teams that were some of the best teams to ever play in the regular season. Luke was the coach for 80% of the games when they won 73 games. So, all this, Kerr is one of the legends. He's one of no. Kerr is just a person that is. It's about circumstances, and the circumstances favored him in the process. But was he going to do the same thing with the Thunder? Was he going to do the same thing with the Wizards? Was he going to do the same thing with the Hawks? Hell no, because he's not that type of coach. He's good for if you have something already. And that's what happened in Phoenix when he was the president of their team. And that's what happened in Golden State when he became the head coach of their team. So when you look at the Warriors, you say to yourself, the Warriors chasing championships should not be even brought to the forefront this year because they don't look like a championship team. They have the championship mentality. They have the championship players. But they are not a team that is good enough to keep up with the best teams in the West this year, in my opinion. Phoenix is just light years ahead of everybody because they got Booker, Bill, and Durant. Those three alone can get you 100 points a night. Okay, um, you always also got the Grizzlies who are going to be pissed off coming back into this year. I don't want to see John Morant if I'm opposing guards the moment he gets back off this 25-game suspension. Okay, he's going to be killing. You still have the Nuggets, who are still the most complete team in the conference, even though you know that there's going to be some kinks in the armor because Bruce Brown was a big piece to things to making it a lot easier for this team. And then you look at the fact that you have a group that is going to be coming off of a championship and their first ever championship. But one thing for the Nuggets that's cool, the Nuggets didn't get the exposure that most world champions get after they win a championship. They won the championship. People celebrated it for like 3 days. They had a ho-hum for like 3 days, and then everybody moved on. So, it wasn't that big of a deal. But if they go back to back, that's different. You know what I mean? So you look at the Warriors and you say to yourself, where do you fit into this? Because the Warriors are in that second tier for the Western Conference with the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Kings. And I think, and they're all in the same division as well, too, except for Phoenix. So they really are dealing with a situation where their division is going to mold them into who they truly are. And we'll see how it goes, but they could win the Pacific or they could finish last in the Pacific. But finishing last in the Pacific doesn't necessarily mean you miss the playoffs. As the Lakers. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward. I would say this I got the Warriors going under their win amount this year. I think they're at 53, 54, and I got them going under that. I think that they're a 50-win team or possibly a 48-win team. I think 48 to 50 wins is a good number for the Warriors this year. The Warriors are not going to be a dominant group, but they're going to be a group that when it comes down to certain games and you